our school, when the bell rang after lights out, someone never returned. The bell rang at 1:17 a.m. I know the exact time because I was staring at my wristwatch when it happened. The green glow of the numbers burned into my eyes, 1:17, and then that sound cut through the darkness. Clang, clang, clang. Loud, metallic, wrong. 72 boys went silent in that dormitory. Not a cough, not a whisper, just the sound of our collective breathing, shallow and scared. My name is Chidi Okonkwo. This is what happened during my final year at Federal Government College, Enugu, and I'm telling you this story because 15 years later, I still hear that bell in my sleep. If you love real African boarding school horror, hit that subscribe button now. You're going to need company. Let me take you back to September 2009. I was 17, senior prefect, night duty monitor for Aji House, the boys' dormitory with the worst reputation on campus. We had 320 students crammed into a building meant for 200. Bunk beds pressed so close together, you could hear the guy next to you grinding his teeth in his sleep. The place smelled like Izal soap, sweat, and the kind of fear that settles into concrete walls. Our school was old, built in 1975 by the federal government with that typical 70s architecture, long corridors, louver windows that never closed properly, and a bell tower right in the center of the compound. The bell itself was massive, bronze, older than the school, they said, brought from some colonial building they demolished. During the day, the bell worked on a schedule: 5:30 a.m. for wake-up, 7:00 a.m. for assembly, 2:00 p.m. for lunch, 4:00 p.m. for prep, 6:00 p.m. for dinner, 10:00 p.m. for lights out. After 10:00 p.m., the bell never rang. Never. Not for fire drills, not for emergencies, not even when the generator caught fire in SS2 block and we had to evacuate at midnight. The principal himself came with a megaphone instead of using the bell. We had rules about the night, unspoken ones that every student learned within their first week. Rule 1, when lights go out at 10, you stay in your bed. Rule 2, if you hear footsteps in the corridor after lights out, you don't look. Rule 3, if you hear the bell ring at night, you don't move, you don't speak, you barely breathe. And Rule 4, the one nobody said out loud but everybody knew: if the bell calls your name, you're already gone. I remember my first week as a JSS1 student. I was 12, skinny, terrified of everything. My bunk was next to this guy named Emeka, an SS3 student who looked like he'd been held back twice. Big guy, tribal marks on his cheeks, the kind of senior who'd slap you for looking at him wrong. On my third night, I heard movement, someone walking in the dark. I sat up to see who it was. Emeka's hand shot out and grabbed my neck, not violent, just firm. "Lie down," he whispered. "Don't ever sit up after lights out, you hear me?" "But someone's." I said, "Lie down." His voice had this edge that made my whole body go cold. I dropped back onto my mattress and pulled my blanket up to my chin. The footsteps continued, slow, deliberate. They stopped right next to my bed. I could feel someone standing there. I squeezed my eyes shut and counted to 100. When I opened them again, nobody was there. Emeka was snoring. The dormitory was still. The next morning, a JSS2 student named Tund was missing. His bed was made. His locker was empty. The school said his parents came for him in the night. Emergency, family issue. But I saw Tund's mother 2 months later on visiting day, asking the principal where her son was. They told her he'd run away. She screamed that her son would never run away. She begged them to call the police. They escorted her off campus. We never saw her again. That's when I learned this school had secrets, and the bell was the biggest one. 5 years later, I was the one enforcing the rules. As night prefect, I did bed checks at 9:45 p.m., made sure everyone was in their bunks, reported anyone missing to the housemasters. Then I'd take my position near the door and wait for lights out. My shift partner was a guy named Kunnel, brilliant student, quiet, always reading those thick novels with no pictures. We got along because we both understood the same thing. Our job wasn't to maintain order, it was to make sure nobody provoked whatever was listening. September 15th, 2009, a Tuesday. That evening during prep, there was a fight in the junior section. A JSS2 boy named David had been bullying a JSS1 kid for weeks, collecting his provisions, tearing his books. That kind of senseless wickedness that happens when you give a 14-year-old boy a little bit of power. The JSS-1 kid, I think his name was Samuel, finally snapped. He grabbed a bottle of methylated spirit from the science lab and tried to set David's bed on fire. Didn't succeed, but the whole dormitory went crazy. Teachers rushed in. David was screaming. Samuel was crying. The housemaster, Mr. Okafor, was furious. "You want to burn down this school," he shouted at Samuel, his voice echoing through the corridor. "You want to kill your classmates." Samuel just stood there, shaking. Small boy, couldn't have been more than 11. "I'm sorry, sir," he whispered. "He beats me every day, sir. He takes my food, he—" "Shut up," Mr. Okafor slapped him. Hard, the sound cracked through the hallway. "Big man like you crying like a girl. Both of you, you'll sleep in the punishment room tonight. No dinner, no light, you'll learn." The punishment room was this tiny storage space near the bell tower. No windows, one bulb that didn't work. They used to lock students in there for hours as discipline. Colonel and I exchanged looks. "Sir," I said carefully, "can't we just give them manual labor, cutting grass or—" "Are you questioning me, Chidi?" "No, sir." "Then go back to your post." Mr. Okafor dragged both boys toward the bell tower. David was still crying, but Samuel had gone silent. That scary kind of silent where a child's eyes look older than they should. At 10:00 p.m., the lights went out. I was at my post near the dormitory entrance. Colonel was at the other end, 300 boys in their beds, everything quiet except for the usual sounds, someone coughing, bed springs creaking, the night guard's radio playing soft high-life music outside. At 1:17 a.m., the bell rang. Clang, clangs, clang. 3 times, loud enough to wake the dead. Every boy in that dormitory went stiff. I felt my stomach drop. Colonel looked at me from across the room, his eyes huge in the darkness. The bell kept ringing, 6 times, 9 times, 12 times. Then it stopped. The silence after was worse than the sound. I waited, we all waited, nobody moved, nobody spoke. At 6:00 a.m., when the morning bell rang for wake-up, I did my rounds. Every student was accounted for, 72 bodies, everyone present. But when I got to the junior section, the housemaster was standing in the corridor with 2 security guards. "Have you seen David?" Mr. Okafor asked me. My blood went cold. "David, sir, the JSS-2 student from last night." "Yes, he's not in the punishment room. Samuel is still there, but David is gone." They searched the entire compound. Nothing. David's belongings were still in his locker. His school uniform was still hanging on his bed rail. His shoes were still under his bunk. But David was gone. The principal called an emergency assembly at 8:00 a.m. "Students," he said, his voice crackling through the megaphone, "David Adelek has been transferred to another school. His parents came for him very early this morning. There is no cause for alarm." But we all knew. Because David's name was still in the class register at breakfast, and by lunchtime it had been erased, like he never existed. That afternoon, if you subscribe and turn on notifications, you won't miss what happened next, because this was only the beginning. 3 weeks passed. The school pretended David never existed. His bed was given to a new student. His locker was reassigned. Teachers didn't mention his name, and we learned fast, don't ask questions about students who disappear. But I started keeping a list. In my diary, I wrote down every name I could remember, students who vanished over the years, students whose parents came asking questions, students the school claimed had transferred or run away. Tund 2004, Ngozi 2006, Ibrahim 2007, Kioma 2008, David 2009. 5 names, 5 disappearances, all after the bell rang at night. And when I really thought about it, when I went back through my memories and the stories older students told, I noticed something. Every single one of them had done something cruel. Tund used to steal from younger students, beat them if they reported him. Ngozi spread rumors that got a girl expelled, vicious lies about her sleeping with teachers. Ibrahim cheated on every exam and sold the answers, got 7 students suspended when they were caught with his papers. Kioma organized a bullying campaign against a JSS-1 girl, psychological torture. The girl tried to kill herself. And David had been tormenting Samuel for months. The bell didn't ring randomly, it rang with purpose. I shared my theory with Colonel one night during our rounds. You think the bell is, what, punishing people? He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. I'm saying there's a pattern. Chidi, this is a school. Schools have rules. Bells ring when someone pulls the rope, that's it. Then who's pulling the rope at 1:00 a.m.? He didn't have an answer for that. October came, rain started, the kind of heavy rainfall that turns the school compound into a river of red mud. Classes were constantly interrupted by leaks in the roof. Students wore raincoats to the dining hall. On October 12th, a Monday, something happened in the girls' dormitory. A group of SS2 girls had been running an exam fraud ring. They'd bribe teachers for test papers, make copies, and sell them to other students for 500 naira each. Big money in 2009. The principal found out. Assembly that morning was brutal. He lined up all 7 girls in front of the entire school, made them kneel in the sun for 2 hours while he called them prostitutes, thieves, and disgrace to their families. One of the girls, her name was Blessing, started crying so hard she vomited. You want to cry, the principal shouted. Cry all you want, maybe your tears will wash away your shame. The teachers didn't intervene, we just stood there watching. After assembly, the girls were suspended for 2 weeks, but Blessing didn't go home. Her parents refused to come get her, said she brought shame to the family and could sleep on the street for all they cared. So the school kept her in the sick bay, alone. That night, October 12th, at exactly 1:17 a.m., the bell rang again. Clang, 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 clang. 5 times, each ring louder than the last. I was awake, I'd been having nightmares about that sound for weeks. The moment I heard it, my whole body went numb. Across the dormitory, boys pulled their blankets over their heads. Someone started praying under their breath, Psalm 23, I think. Another student was crying silently, his shoulders shaking. The bell stopped. Morning came. Blessing was gone, the sick bay was empty, door locked from the inside, window closed, but no Blessing. The school said her parents had a change of heart and picked her up in the night. Nobody believed it. And that's when the fear really set in, because we realized something terrifying. The bell wasn't just ringing in the boys' dormitory anymore, it was ringing across the entire school. Anywhere, anytime, for anyone. At lunch, I sat with Kunnel in the dining hall. We barely touched our food. 5 people, I said quietly, 5 people in 5 years. Don't, Kunnel warned. All of them did something bad. All of them disappeared after the bell rang. Chidi, stop. We need to find out what that bell is, where it came from, why. No, Kunnel grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in. You don't investigate, you don't ask questions, you survive, that's it. What if we're next? He went pale. What are you talking about? We're prefects, Kunnel, we enforce the rules, we punish students. What if the bell thinks we're guilty too? He stood up so fast his chair fell over. I'm not listening to this. He walked away. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, because he was right to be scared. We had power in that school, we used it, sometimes we abused it. I remembered a JSS1 student I'd punished last term, caught him sneaking food from the kitchen. I made him do 200 frog jumps in the sun. He passed out, spent 3 days in the sick bay. I remembered covering for my friend Ebuka when he stole money from another student's locker. I lied to the housemaster, said I saw someone else near the locker. An innocent kid got suspended. I remembered all the small cruelties, all the times I looked away, all the times I chose silence over justice. And I realized I wasn't safe. None of us were. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound, footsteps in the corridor, wind rattling the louvers, the distant hum of the generator. And somewhere far away, I swore I heard the bell. I needed answers. The school library was useless, just outdated textbooks and novels nobody read. The teachers wouldn't talk. Anytime you mentioned the bell, they'd change the subject or threaten you with punishment for spreading rumors. But every school has people who know things, people who have been there long enough to see patterns, people who clean the classrooms at night and hear the conversations teachers have when they think nobody's listening. Mama Nkechai was one of those people. She'd been working at the school since it opened in 1975, 34 years of mopping floors, washing windows, and keeping secrets. She was old, maybe 70, maybe older. Her back was permanently bent from decades of scrubbing. Her hands were rough like tree bark. Most students ignored her, treated her like furniture. But I'd always been polite, said good morning, helped her carry her bucket sometimes, small things, the kind of things my mother taught me. On October 15th, a Thursday, I found her sweeping leaves near the bell tower. Mama Nkech, I said, good afternoon, Ma. She looked up at me, her eyes cloudy with age. Chidi, the prefect boy, you well? Yes, Ma, I wanted to ask you something. Her face changed, just slightly, like a door closing. If no about assignment, go ask your teacher. It's not about schoolwork, Ma, it's about the bell. She stopped sweeping. The silence stretched between us like a rope pulled tight. You don't hear something? She asked quietly. The bell rang 2 weeks ago, and a student disappeared. MHMM. And I want to know why. I want to know what this bell is. Mama Nkech, I looked around, checking if anyone was watching. Then she gestured for me to follow her. We walked behind the bell tower to a small storage shed where she kept her cleaning supplies. Inside, it smelled like bleach and old wood. She sat down on an overturned bucket and sighed deeply. That bell, she began, get history, bad history. I sat on the floor, my back against the wall. Tell me. 1978, 3 years after this school open. The first principal, Mr. Adelek, he be very strict man, very wicked Seth. He believes say students na like animal, you must to beat them, starve them, break their spirit so they can learn. I nodded. We'd heard stories about the old days, caning until you bled, kneeling on gravel for hours, lock up in dark rooms. One student, Mama Nkech, I continued, him named na Joseph Nwankwo, JSS 3 boy, 14 years old, very brilliant, always first position for him class, but him get one problem. What problem? He day stammer, when he talk the words no day come out smooth, and the other students they day laugh mock even some teachers sef day call JJ Joseph. My stomach turned, I could picture it, the cruelty of children, the casual evil of adults who should know better. Joseph tried to defend himself one day, Mama Nkech, I said. One senior boy slap him for dormitory. Joseph pick up stick and hit the boy back, break him arm. Jesus. Mr. Adelek hear about he call assembly, make Joseph kneel in front of everybody. Then he say Joseph go sleep inside the bell tower. 1 whole week, no food, only water. He say not to teach Joseph say violence no good. I felt cold. They locked him in the bell tower for a week. Yes, but you see that time the bell tower no be like now. That place dark, no window, only small door, and inside now where they day keep the ropeway connect to the bell. She paused, her hands trembling. It's the rope. Yes, long ropeway hang from the bell down to the ground floor. If you pull the bell go ring. Mr. Adelek tell Joseph say if he pull that rope, if he make any noise, they go add another week to him punishment. The pieces started coming together in my head, horrible pieces. What happened? Mama Nkechai's voice dropped to a whisper. Third night Joseph day very hungry, weak, he hear rat inside that tower with big rats, they day bite him Seth. He try to sleep but the place too cold, too dark, then he hear something else. What? Fire. My heart stopped. The generator for the school, she continued, day near the bell tower that time. That night the generator catch fire, big fire, smoke day go everywhere, students day run come out from dormitory, teachers day shout, everybody day panic. And Joseph was locked inside. Yes, tears filled her eyes. Joseph day pull that rope, pull the bell day ring, clang clang clang, he day shout, help me, fire help, but with all the confusion, with all the noise, nobody hear nobody remember say small boy day lock up for inside. I couldn't breathe. By the time they put out the fire, Mama Nkech, I said, by the time somebody remembered Joseph, don too late. When they open the door they see him hands still day hold the rope, him mouth open like say him still day shout, smoke choke kill The shed felt too small, too dark. I wanted to run outside, but I couldn't move. The school cover she said bitterly. They tell Joseph Mama say him die from asthma attack. Natural causes, they bury him quick. Mr. Adelek retire the next year, everybody forget. But the bell didn't forget. No, Mama Nkech, I shook her head. That bell carry Joseph's spirit. And Joseph even for spirit form him still day stammer, still day suffer, but now him get power, him day watch this school. Him day see wetin day happen, and when him see wickedness, the same kind of wickedness way kill him day ring that bell, him day call people, him day make them pay. I felt sick. The students who disappeared, Joseph took them. I know where they go, nobody know. But I know say after that bell ring, after somebody disappear, the wickedness for this school day reduce small. Students day fear, teachers day careful. E be like Joseph day do the justice way nobody do for 'em when him day alive. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally I asked the question I was afraid to know the answer to. Mama Nkechai, can it be stopped? She looked at me with those tired, knowing eyes. Only one way, she said, confession, truth. If you do wickedness and you confess real confession with sorry heart, the bell no go call you. But if you wicked and you hide if you pretend say you clean, Joseph go no, and when him ready him go ring. I left that conversation feeling like my chest was full of stones. Everything made sense now, the pattern, the disappearances, the fear that hung over the school like fog. Joseph wasn't a monster, he was a child who died screaming for help that never came. And now, 15 years later, he was still screaming, still pulling that rope, still trying to make someone hear him. But his justice was absolute, merciless. And I was terrified because I knew I wasn't innocent. That night during prep, I couldn't focus on my books. I kept thinking about Ebuka. Ebuka was my best friend. We'd been roommates since JSS 1, shared everything, food, clothes, secrets. He was the brother I never had. 3 months ago in June, Ebuka stole 12,000 naira from another student's locker. Big money. The boy's parents had sent it for textbooks and school fees. When the theft was reported, the principal launched an investigation, searched every locker, questioned every student in our dorm. I was the night prefect. I was supposed to report what I knew. But when they asked me if I'd seen anything suspicious, I lied. No, sir, I said, I didn't see anything. I knew Ebuka took the money. I'd seen him counting it under his bed the night before, but he was my friend, my brother, I couldn't betray him. The investigation went cold. An innocent kid, a quiet JSS 2 boy named Femi, got accused because someone saw him near the locker area. No proof, just suspicion. They suspended him for 2 weeks. His parents had to pay back the stolen money even though Femi didn't take it. Femi's father was a poor farmer. 12,000 naira was everything. They had to sell their goat to pay it back. I remember seeing Femi crying in the corner of the dormitory after he came back from suspension. Nobody wanted to be his friend anymore. Everyone thought he was a thief. And I said nothing. Ebuka used that money to buy new shoes, snacks, phone credit. He even offered me some. I took it, ate his stolen biscuits, wore the headphones he bought with Femi's school fees. I was complicit. And now, sitting in that classroom with my physics textbook open to a page I wasn't reading, I realized, if the bell rang for people who did wicked things, it could ring for me. After prep ended at 8:00 p.m., I went looking for Ebuka. I found him in the dormitory, lying on his bed reading a comic book. Guy, wetin day happen? He asked when he saw my face. You look like say you see ghost. We need to talk. About. I sat on his bed and lowered my voice. The money you took from that boy's locker, Femi's money. His expression changed immediately. Chidi, I tell you say I know. Don't lie to me, not now. I saw you counting it, and I covered for you. I lied to the principal. An innocent boy got punished because of us. Ebuka sat up, his jaw tight. So wetin you want make I do? The thing done happen already. We cannot to change am. We can confess. Are you mad? He looked at me like I'd suggested we jump off the school roof. You want make them expel me. You know say my papa go kill me if them send me home. Ebuka, people are disappearing from this school. Students who did bad things, and I think. Oh, so now you day believe ghost story. He laughed, but it sounded forced. Chidi, you two day fear, nothing day happen. Those students run away, none normal thing. David didn't run away, Blessing didn't run away, and if we don't make this right. Make wetin right, Ebuka stood up, angry now. Listen, I be your friend, your brother, and you won't betray me because of some stupid superstition. You won't make them expel me. I want us to survive. We go survive if you keep your mouth shut. He grabbed my shoulder, his grip firm. I beg you, forget this thing, nothing go happen, I promise you. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. But that night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, counting the minutes. 10:15 p.m. 10:47 p.m. 11:23 p.m. Midnight came and went. 12:30 a.m. 1:00 a.m. 1:15 a.m. My heart was beating so loud I could hear it in my ears. 1:16 a.m. 59 seconds. 58. 57. Please, I thought, please not tonight. 1:17 a.m. Clang. The bell rang. But this time it was different. Clang. It rang twice. The entire dormitory went silent, 72 boys frozen in terror. Clang's clang. 4 times. I'd never heard it ring 4 times before, never heard it ring twice in the same rhythm. Clang, clangs, clangs, clang. 8 times now. My body was shaking, I couldn't control it. And then I heard it. Between the rings, in the silence, I heard my name. Chidi. Not loud, not shouting, just there, like someone standing next to my bed, whispering directly into my ear. Chidi Okonkwo. I squeezed my eyes shut, pulled my blanket over my head, started praying every prayer I'd ever learned. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Chidi. The bell rang again, louder, right inside my skull. Clang, clangs, clang. I see you, Chidi, I see wetin you do. The voice wasn't angry, it was sad, young, a child's voice with a stammer. I see you lie, I see you hide, I see you collect blood money. Tears were streaming down my face. I was 17 years old, and I was crying like a baby. Pete, please, I whispered, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry no day enough, truth, you must to talk truth. The bell rang one final time, so loud the whole building shook. Then silence. I don't know how long I lay there, hours maybe. When the morning bell rang at 6:00 a.m., I finally opened my eyes. Everyone was still there, every student accounted for. But when I looked at Ebuka's bed, he was sitting up, staring at me. His eyes were wide, terrified. You heard it too, I said. He nodded slowly, the bell, it called my name. We both knew what that meant. The bell had rung for both of us. We had one choice, confess or disappear. And we had maybe one night left to decide. If you want to know what happened next, make sure you're subscribed, because what we did next changed everything, and not everyone survived to tell this story. The day passed like a funeral procession. Ebuka and I moved through our classes like ghosts. We sat next to each other in mathematics, but we didn't speak, didn't look at each other. Around us, students whispered about the bell, how it rang 8 times, how loud it was, how some people swore they heard voices. Mr. Johnson, our math teacher, kept asking if I was okay. Chidi, you're sweating, are you sick? No sir, I'm fine sir. But I wasn't fine, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Every sound made me jump, a door slamming, someone dropping a book, the school bell ringing for break time. That last one almost made me scream. During lunch, I couldn't eat. The rice and stew sat in front of me growing cold while my stomach twisted into knots. Across the table, Kunal was watching me. You look terrible, he said. I'm fine. You're lying, he leaned closer, lowering his voice. The bell rang last night, I heard it. And this morning, you and Ebuka both look like you've seen death. What happened? I wanted to tell him. God, I wanted to tell someone, but the words stuck in my throat like broken glass. Nothing happened. Chidi. I said nothing happened. My voice came out too loud. Students at nearby tables turned to look at us. I stood up, grabbed my tray, and walked away. I spent the rest of lunch period in the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the cracked mirror above the sink. I looked different, older. My eyes had this hollowed-out look, like something had been scooped out from inside me. I splashed water on my face, but it didn't help. The voice from last night kept replaying in my head. Joseph's voice, that stammer, that sadness. Truth, you must to talk truth. But how do you confess something that could destroy your best friend? How do you tell the truth when the truth feels like betrayal? After lunch, I went looking for Ebuka. I found him behind the science lab, sitting on the ground with his back against the wall. He was holding his head in his hands. Guy, I said softly, we need to talk. He looked up at me, his eyes were red, he'd been crying. I keep hearing it, he said, even now, even in the daytime. I hear that bell ringing inside my head, over and over, clang, clang, clang. He hit his head with his palm. Make it stop, Chidi, please make it stop. I sat down next to him. There's only one way to make it stop. No. Ebuka, we have to confess. We have to tell the truth about the money, about Femi, about everything. They'll expel me, his voice broke. My papa go disown me. You know how hard him work to pay my school fees. You know wetting him sacrifice. And you want make I tell him say I be thief, say I steal from another student. Better expelled than dead. You don't know that, maybe not just dream. Maybe the bell no mean anything, maybe. Stop, I grabbed his shoulders, forcing him to look at me. You heard your name, I heard my name. This is real, Ebuka. And if we don't confess, if we don't make this right, we're going to disappear like David, like Blessing, like all the others. Is that what you want? He was crying properly now, big, gulping sobs that shook his whole body. I know want die, he whispered. Chidi, I know want die. Then we confess, tomorrow morning, assembly, we tell the principal everything. And if him expel us, then we go home alive. I pulled him into a hug, something we hadn't done since we were small boys. I'd rather face your papa's anger than disappear in the night. At least we'll still be here, still breathing. He held onto me like a drowning man holding driftwood. You go do 'em with me, you go confess too. Yes, together, like brothers. We sat there for a long time, two scared boys trying to find courage in each other. Eventually, the bell rang for afternoon prep. We pulled ourselves together and went back to class. But the day felt endless. Every minute stretched like an hour. In literature class, we were supposed to be discussing Macbeth, but I couldn't focus. All I could think about was tomorrow morning, standing in front of the entire school, confessing our sins. The shame of it already burned in my chest. Evening came, dinner, night prep, the usual routines that suddenly felt precious because I didn't know if I'd be here to experience them again. At 9:45 p.m. I did my rounds as night prefect, checked every bed, counted every student. Ebuka's bed was 3 rows from mine. He was lying there with his eyes open, staring at nothing. Sleep, I told him. We'll face tomorrow when it comes. What if the bell rings tonight? He asked. What if he no wait for tomorrow? I didn't have an answer for that. At 10:00 p.m., the lights went out. I lay in my bed, fully clothed. I'd decided I wasn't going to sleep. I'd stay awake all night if I had to, keep watch, make sure Ebuka and I both survived until morning. The dormitory settled into its usual night sounds. Snoring, someone muttering in their sleep, the security guard's footsteps outside. 10:30 p.m. nothing. 11:00 p.m. nothing. 11:30 p.m. still nothing. Midnight came and went. Maybe we were safe. Maybe the bell was giving us one more night, one more chance. 12:30 a.m. I was so tired, my eyes kept closing on their own. I pinched myself to stay awake. 1:00 a.m. 15 minutes, just 15 more minutes and we'd be past 1:17, past the danger hour. 1:10 a.m. I counted the minutes, counted my heartbeats. 1:15 a.m. 2 more minutes. 1:16 a.m. I held my breath. 59 seconds. 58. Please, please, please. 30 seconds. 20. 10. 5. 1:17 a.m. Silent. I exhaled, we were safe, we'd made it through the clang. No. Clang, clangs, clang. The bell rang, louder than I'd ever heard it. So loud it felt like the sound was coming from inside the room, inside my chest. Clang, clang, clangs, clang, clang. 9 times. Then I heard it, the voice. Chidi, Ebuka. Both our names called together. L last warning, L last chance. Clang, clangs, clang. The ringing was unbearable now. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The sound vibrated through my bones, my skull, my teeth. And then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming down the corridor between the beds. Step, step, step. Everyone else in the dormitory was silent, paralyzed with fear, but I could hear those footsteps clearly, getting closer. Step, step, step. They stopped at Ebuka's bed. I wanted to look, wanted to see what was there, but my body wouldn't move. I was frozen, my eyes squeezed shut, my whole body rigid with terror. Ebuka, the voice said, closer now, right next to his bed. You are ready. I heard Ebuka whimper, a small broken sound. Pete, please, he whispered. Please, I go confess, I promise, tomorrow, I go talk true. Tea too late for tomorrow, the voice said. Tea time don't finish. No. I forced my eyes open, forced myself to look. And I saw him. Joseph. He was standing next to Ebuka's bed, a boy about 14 years old, wearing an old-school uniform from the 70s, khaki shorts, white shirt, brown sandals. His face was thin, his eyes sunken, and his hands were burned, black and red and peeling. He was looking down at Ebuka with an expression that wasn't angry. It was sad, disappointed. I wait so long, Joseph said. I give chance, I give warning, but nobody listen, nobody tell truth. I'm telling the truth now. Ebuka was sitting up, his voice rising to a scream. I stole the money, I stole it. FEM, I didn't do it, I did it, please. But Joseph just shook his head slowly. Too late, you confess only because you fear, not because you sorry, not because you want make 'em right. He reached out his burned hand toward Ebuka. And that's when I did something I'll never understand, something that came from a place deeper than fear. I jumped out of my bed. Wait, I shouted. Joseph turned to look at me, those hollow eyes fixed on my face. I'm the one, I said, my voice shaking. I'm the one who lied. Ebuka stole the money, yes, but I covered for him. I'm a prefect. I should have reported it. An innocent boy got punished because of me. If anyone should pay, it should be me. Chidi, no, Ebuka started to say. Shut you, P. I was crying now, but I didn't care. I looked at Joseph, at this boy who died screaming for help. You want justice, take me, let Ebuka go. He's stupid, he's scared, but he's not wicked. Not really. I'm the one who knew better, I'm the one who chose to lie. Joseph stared at me for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was clearer now, less stammering, like he was surprised. You are ready to pay for your friend. Yes. Even if it mean you disappear, even if you never see your family again. I thought about my mother, my father, my little sister who looked up to me. I thought about everything I'd lose. Yes, I whispered. Joseph tilted his head, studying me. You brave or you foolish, I know sure which one. He lowered his hand, stepped back from Ebuka's bed. But I see something, he said quietly. I see say you get conscience, you feel the weight of wetin you do, and you ready to carry am. He looked at both of us now. Tomorrow morning, assembly, you go stand up, both of you, and you go tell the whole school wetin you do, every detail. No hiding, no running. You go confess everything, and you go beg Femi pardon in front of everybody. We will, I said, I promise. And after, Joseph continued, you go find way to pay back the money. Even if he take you 1 year, even if you must to sell your own things, you go pay him back. Yes, we will. Joseph nodded slowly. If you do this thing, if you talk true and make 'em right, I go leave you alone. But if you lie again, if you run, if you pretend say this night no happen. He leaned closer and I could smell smoke on him, old smoke, burned flesh. I go come back, and next time no warning. He straightened up, looked around the dormitory at all the boys pretending to sleep. Tell them, he said, tell everybody. The bell no be punishment, the bell be reminder. Say wickedness always get price. Say the weak people way suffer, they no be invisible. Somebody day watch, somebody day remember. And then he was gone. Not walking away, just gone. The bell rang one final time, a soft sound, almost gentle. Clang. Then silence. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Neither did Ebuka. We lay in our beds, staring at the ceiling, processing what had just happened. Around us, the dormitory slowly came back to life. Boys whispered to each other. Someone was praying loudly. Someone else was crying. Colonel appeared at my bedside just before dawn. What happened? He asked quietly. I saw someone standing in here, someone who shouldn't be here. Joseph, I said. The boy from the story. Yes. Colonel's face went pale, and he gave us a choice, confess or disappear. We chose confession. He sat down on the edge of my bed, his legs shaky. You're really going to do it? Stand up in assembly and admit everything? Yes. They'll expel you, both of you. Maybe, but we'll be alive. At 6:00 a.m., the morning bell rang for wake up. I got dressed slowly, putting on my full uniform. White shirt, blue trousers, school badge. I wanted to look proper, respectful, like someone who understood the weight of what he was about to do. Ebuka did the same. We didn't talk much. There was nothing left to say. At 7:00 a.m., the whole school gathered for assembly. 1,500 students arranged in neat rows on the assembly ground. Teachers stood on the platform. The principal, Mr. Obi, was at the microphone preparing to make announcements. I looked at Ebuka, ready. He shook his head. No, but we doing 'em anyway. We walked forward together, broke formation, walked right up to the platform while the entire school watched. Mr. Obi stopped mid-sentence. What is the meaning of this? Chidi, Ebuka, get back in line. Sir, I said, my voice barely audible, we need to confess something, in front of everyone. The assembly ground went silent, 1,500 students holding their breath. This is highly irregular, Mr. Obi started to say. Please, Ebuka's voice cracked. Just let us talk, we need to talk. Something in his voice must have reached Mr. Obi, because he stepped back from the microphone and gestured for us to come up. We climbed onto the platform. I could see everyone now, every face, every eye watching us. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to clench them into fists. My name is Chidi Okonkwo, I began. My voice echoed across the silent field. I'm a senior prefect, night duty monitor, and I lied to protect a thief. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I continued. 3 months ago, 12,000 naira was stolen from a student's locker. The school investigated. They accused a boy named Femi Ademi. He got suspended. His family had to pay back money he didn't steal. I could see Femi now, standing in the JSS2 section. His mouth was open, shocked. But Femi didn't steal the money, I said. Ebuka did, and I knew. I saw him count the money. And when the principal asked me if I knew anything, I lied. I said I didn't see anything. An innocent boy suffered because of my lie. Tears were running down my face now, but I didn't wipe them away. Ebuka stepped forward, his voice breaking. I'm Ebuka Okafor, and I'm a thief. I stole that money, I spent it, and I let another boy take the punishment. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He turned to where Femi was standing, walked down from the platform, walked right up to him in front of everyone. And then Ebuka did something I'll never forget. He knelt down in the dirt, in front of the whole school. Femi, he said, his voice raw, I beg you, forgive me, I destroy your name, I make your family suffer, and I no get excuse, I be wicked, I be coward, please, please forgive me. The entire school was silent. You could hear birds in the trees, the wind rustling leaves. Femi was crying too, this small boy who'd carried the weight of a false accusation for months. He looked down at Ebuka kneeling in front of him. And then he said, I forgive you. Just like that, simple, clean. Ebuka collapsed, sobbed into the dirt, and Femi, this boy who had every right to be angry, to be hateful, knelt down next to him and put his hand on his back. I stood on that platform watching this, and I felt something break open inside my chest. Not pain, relief, like a wound that had been festering was finally being cleaned. Mr. Obi was standing next to me, his face unreadable. Sir, I said, turning to him, we ready to accept any punishment, suspension, expulsion, whatever you think is right, but we needed to tell the truth, we needed to make it right. He looked at me for a long moment, then he looked at Ebuka and Femi on the ground, then at the whole school, silent and watching. Finally, he spoke into the microphone. Truth, he said slowly, is the foundation of education, not grades, not discipline, truth. These boys, he gestured at us, have shown more courage this morning than most people show in a lifetime. They chose honesty over safety. They chose justice over comfort. He paused. They will not be expelled. The relief hit me like a wave. However, he continued, there will be consequences. Ebuka, you will work in the school kitchen every day for the rest of the term. No pay, hard labor, and you will pay back every naira you stole, even if it takes you a year. Chidi, you will lose your prefect position. You will serve detention every Saturday for the rest of the term, and both of you will write a public apology to Femi and his family. Yes, sir, we said together. And one more thing, Mr. Obi's voice was softer now. This school has a history. Things have happened here that we don't talk about, but maybe it's time we start talking. Maybe it's time we stop pretending. Because when we hide the truth, when we cover up wickedness, we create ghosts, and ghosts don't forget. He looked up at the bell tower. Everyone followed his gaze. From today, he announced, this school will have a new policy. Any student who witnesses injustice, who sees wickedness, who knows the truth about something wrong, you are required to report it. Not to protect the school's reputation, not to avoid scandal, but to protect each other, because we are a community, and in a community we look out for each other. The assembly erupted in applause, not for us, for the idea, for the possibility of change. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept. Deep, dreamless sleep. The bell didn't ring. The weeks that followed our confession changed everything. Not overnight, not dramatically, but slowly, like water wearing down stone, the culture of the school began to shift. Students started speaking up. A JSS1 girl reported a senior who was collecting her provisions every week. The senior got suspended. A group of SS2 boys confessed to running an exam malpractice ring. They accepted their punishment without complaint. Fear was still there. You can't erase decades of silence in a few weeks, but now it shared space with something else. Hope, maybe, or just the belief that telling the truth wouldn't get you destroyed. Ebuka kept his word. Every day after classes, he went to the school kitchen and worked, washing dishes, peeling yams, scrubbing pots until his hands were raw. The kitchen staff said he was the hardest worker they'd ever seen, like he was trying to scrub away his guilt one plate at a time. He saved every naira he could, stopped buying snacks, stopped buying phone credit. His parents sent him allowance, and instead of spending it, he put it in an envelope under his mattress. By December, he had enough to pay back Femi's family, all 12,000 naira. I went with him on visiting day when Femi's parents came to the school. We found them sitting under the mango tree near the school gate, waiting for their son. Femi's father was a small man with calloused hands and tired eyes. His mother wore a faded wrapper and head tie. They looked up at us with suspicion when we approached. "Good afternoon, sir." "Good afternoon, Ma," Ebuka said, his voice respectful. "My name is Ebuka Okafor. I'm the student who stole your son's money." Femi's father's expression hardened. "What do you want?" Ebuka pulled out the envelope. His hands were shaking. "I want to pay you back, sir, every kobo, and I want to say I'm sorry. I know sorry cannot to bring back the goat you sell. I know sorry cannot to remove the shame, but I hope say you fit forgive me, sir." He held out the envelope. Femi's father didn't take it. He just stared at Ebuka for a long time. The silence was crushing. Then Femi's mother spoke. Her voice was soft, but it carried weight. "Young man," she said, "you know wetin you do to my family. You know how my husband cry when we have to sell our goat. That goat are our savings, our future. And because of you, because of your greed, we lose AM." "Yes, Ma, I know, Ma. So why I suppose forgive you." Ebuka's face crumpled. "I no get excuse, Ma, I just beg. I go spend the rest of my life trying to make 'em right." Femi's mother looked at her husband. Some silent communication passed between them. Finally, Femi's father reached out and took the envelope. He opened it, counted the money. All 12,000 naira was there. "This money," he said slowly, "go help us. We go use and buy another goat, start again." He looked at Ebuka. "But money no be everything. My son him carry that shame for months. Him cry every night. Him almost stop coming to school because the other students they call him thief." "I know, sir." "So if I forgive you today," Femi's father continued, no be because of this money. Be because I see say you genuine. I see say you day try change. And my Bible tell me say we must to forgive those way wrong us, the same way God forgive us." Ebuka dropped to his knees. "Thank you, sir, thank you." Femi's mother helped him up. "Stand up, my pickin', you still young. You fit still become better person. But no forget this lesson. Wickedness always get price, and conscience no day sleep." We left them there under the mango tree. As we walked back to the dormitory, Ebuka was crying, but this time it was different. Lighter, like he'd put down something heavy he'd been carrying for too long. "I feel free," he whispered. "Chidi, for the first time in months I feel free." I understood, because I felt it too. My punishment was different but equally hard. Losing my prefect badge was humiliating. I'd worked 3 years to earn that position, and in one morning it was gone. The other prefects didn't talk to me anymore. They saw me as a traitor, someone who broke the code. But the junior students, the ones I used to monitor, they started treating me differently, with respect that felt real, not forced. They'd say good morning and actually mean it. They'd ask me for advice. They trusted me in a way they never had when I was wearing that badge. And the Saturday detentions, I spent them cleaning the school compound with other students who'd broken rules. We picked up trash, swept the assembly ground, pulled weeds from the flower beds. It was hard work, humbling work, but it was also honest work. One Saturday in late November, while I was sweeping near the bell tower, I saw Mama Enkechi watching me. "You don't learn your lesson?" she asked. "Yes, Ma." She smiled, a rare thing. "Joseph, him go rest now. Him see say justice don't happen. Him see say this school day change small. You think he's really gone?" She shrugged. "Spirit no day go anywhere, them just day rest. But if wickedness come back, if this school forget again," she looked up at the bell tower, "him go wake up, him go ring that bell, because some promises them day last forever." That night I wrote in my diary. November 28, 2009. It's been 6 weeks since the confession. The bell hasn't rung once, not at night, not for anyone. Maybe Joseph is finally at peace. Maybe we all are. I don't know if I believe in ghosts or spirits or justice from beyond the grave. But I know this, that bell taught me something. It taught me that silence is a kind of violence, that looking away from wickedness makes you part of it. That the truth, no matter how hard it is to speak, is always better than a comfortable lie. I'm not a prefect anymore. I don't have any authority, but I have my conscience back, and that's worth more than any badge. December came, exams, then the long break. Students went home for Christmas. I said goodbye to Ebuka at the school gate. His father came to pick him up in their old Peugeot 504. I watched them drive away and I felt grateful. Grateful we were both alive, both whole, both changed. On the last day of term, before I left for home, I did something I'd been planning for weeks. I went to the bell tower. The door was locked, but I knew where the key was hidden, under a loose brick near the cleaner's shed. I took the key, opened the door, and climbed the narrow stairs. The tower was dark and cramped, just like Mama Enkechi had described. The rope hung down from above, thick and old. I could see marks on it, handprints, burned into the fibers like fossils. Joseph's handprints. I reached out and touched the rope gently. "Thank you," I whispered. "Thank you for giving us a chance. Thank you for not giving up on us." The rope was warm under my palm, not hot, just warm, like someone had been holding it recently. I stood there for a moment, honoring the boy who died in this place. The boy who became a ghost not because he wanted revenge, but because he wanted justice. Then I climbed back down, locked the door, and went home. That was 15 years ago. I'm 32 now. I live in Lagos. I work as a social worker helping at-risk youth, kids who have been expelled from school, kids who have made mistakes, kids who need someone to believe they can change. I think about that bell often, about Joseph, about the lessons I learned in that boarding school. Last month I was driving through Enugu for a work conference. On a whim, I decided to visit my old school. When I got there, the gate was locked, padlocked, a sign hanging on the rusty metal. Federal Government College Enugu, temporarily closed. I asked around, spoke to some people who lived nearby. They told me the school shut down 3 years ago, quietly, no explanation, just locked the gates one day and never reopened. Rumors said there was an incident. Students kept disappearing. Parents started pulling their kids out. Eventually, there weren't enough students left to keep it running. But nobody knew the real story. Nobody talked about it. I stood outside those gates for a long time, looking at the empty compound. The buildings were falling apart, windows broken, grass growing wild, nature reclaiming what humans had abandoned. And in the center of it all, I could see the bell tower, still standing, still watching. I checked my phone. The time was 6:47. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. I should have left, should have gotten back in my car and driven away. But something made me stay. I don't know why, maybe curiosity, maybe nostalgia, maybe something else. The sky darkened, 7:00 p.m., 7:30 p.m. At 8:00 p.m., I finally decided to leave. I turned toward my car. That's when I heard it. Faint, distant, but unmistakable. Clang. I froze. The bell was ringing, inside that abandoned school, with no one there to pull the rope. Clang. Once more. Then silence. I stood there in the darkness, my heart pounding, and I understood something I hadn't understood before. Joseph wasn't gone, he was never gone. He was still there, still watching, still waiting. Because some promises last forever, Some places remember what people try to forget. Some bells ring not to tell time, but to remind us of the price of wickedness. And some ghosts don't haunt out of anger. They haunt because someone needs to remember. I got in my car and drove away. I didn't look back. But even now, 15 years later, living in a different city, working a different life, I still hear that bell sometimes. In my dreams, in quiet moments, in the space between heartbeats. Clang. A reminder. A warning. A promise. If you go to boarding school in Nigeria, if you walk those corridors at night, if you hear a bell that shouldn't ring, remember this story. Remember that every action has a consequence, that wickedness always carries a price, that the weak and the suffering are never invisible. Someone is always watching. Someone always remembers. And when the bell rings after lights out, when that sound cuts through the darkness like a knife, don't move. Don't speak. Just pray you haven't given it a reason to call your name. Pause. This is a true story, or as true as memory allows. The names have been changed, the details softened, but the bell was real, Joseph was real, and what happened in that school between 2004 and 2009 was real. If this story affected you, if it made you think about the choices you make and the consequences they carry, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel because there are more stories like this, more truths that need to be told, more ghosts that need to be remembered. The bell may be silent now, but it's still there, still waiting, still watching. And if you've done something wicked, if you've hurt someone and never made it right, if you're carrying guilt that's eating you alive, you know what you need to do. Confess, make it right, speak the truth. Before the bell rings for you. Thank you for listening. And remember, some school bells should never ring again. But this one will, whenever it needs to. Whenever justice calls.